They arrive in Panama in mid-March 2014. Two young women from the Netherlands. One 21, the other 22. Both recently graduated. Both eager to see the world beyond their home country. They carry with them a shared goal: to improve their Spanish, to volunteer with children in a mountain town, to travel a little, learn a lot, and return home with more than photographs and souvenirs. One studied cultural social education with a focus on art and creativity. The other studied applied psychology with an interest in working with young people. They saved their money for months, planned carefully, and set out on a trip that would take them first to Panama and then, perhaps, to other parts of Central and South America. After time spent exploring other areas of Panama, they arrive in Boquete in the last days of March. Boquete is a small town high in the province. It's known for its cooler climate, coffee farms, and its location at the foot of cloud-forested mountains. They are staying with a local host family whose home looks out toward misty green slopes. The mornings here are cool, the air crisp, the afternoons warmer but tempered by the shade of the surrounding hills. They have enrolled in Spanish lessons at a local language school. The plan is to take classes for a week, then begin volunteer work at a program for local children. On their second day in Boquete, they begin to settle in, shopping in the town's small stores, having coffee in open air, walking along the main road lined with flower beds. They hear about the trails in the surrounding hills. One of these trails is called El Pianista, a route known for its beauty. It begins near a small restaurant just outside town, climbing through dense forests before reaching the Continental Divide. At the viewpoint, known locally as the Mirador, a hiker can stand on the ridge and see both sides of the country. The Pacific slope lies behind, the Caribbean slope ahead. Most hikers turn back here. Beyond the Mirador, the trail becomes less distinct, descending into remote forest and steep ravines. On April 1, 2014, sometime late in the morning, the two set out for El Pianista. They are seen walking in the direction of the trailhead. Some accounts say they stopped at the small restaurant at the base of the trail. A dog from the restaurant is said to have followed them for part of their walk. The early section of the hike is easy to follow, a well-marked dirt path, passing through small farms and into dense vegetation. As they ascend, the forest becomes thicker, the light dimmer, the air cooler and wetter. They take photographs of each other along the way, smiling, arms around shoulders, surrounded by greenery. They reach the Mirador. Photographs taken here show them on or near the ridge. The cloud forest behind them is lush and full, mist curling through the branches. From here, the safe route is to turn back toward town. Instead, the photographs and later reconstructions suggest they continued on, stepping beyond the viewpoint onto the lesser-used trail that drops down the far side. On maps, this descent leads toward the Culebra River, which eventually flows to the Caribbean coast. The far slope is remote, home to scattered indigenous villages, crisscrossed by small, treacherous paths crossed by streams that swell quickly in rain. At some point that afternoon, they attempt to call emergency numbers from one of their phones. Calls do not connect. No signal reaches the devices. Another call is made from the second phone. It also fails. This pattern repeats over the coming days. Phones turned on, emergency numbers dialed, no connection. One phone battery depletes quickly, within a day or so. The other remains powered on and off over more than a week, usually for brief periods in late mornings or early afternoons, suggesting attempts to conserve power while seeking a stronger signal. When they do not return to their host family by that evening, there is concern. By the next morning, after they miss a planned meeting with a local guide, alarm grows. By that afternoon, searches are underway. Local police, guides, and volunteers begin by checking the familiar sections of El Pianista. They call out into the mist, check side paths, scan the ridge. Helicopters are brought in. Search dogs are deployed. Over the next several days, the search widens, but the terrain is complex. Steep slopes, slippery clay underfoot, narrow ledges, streams that must be crossed on single logs or narrow cables. The early search efforts focus on the Pacific slope near the Mirador. But without results, attention shifts toward the possibility that they went over the ridge. This side is harder to search. Fewer paths, no vehicle access, more water crossings. Days turn into a week without clear findings. Their families arrive from the Netherlands, coordinating with Panamanian authorities and with search specialists from Europe. From the recovered camera later, more of their movements become clear. The last daytime photos are from April 1st, showing them near the divide and on the far side. Then there is a gap, followed by a sequence of nighttime photos taken more than a week later. On April 8th, these nighttime shots, over 90 images, are captured in deep darkness, illuminated only by flash. Many show vegetation close to the lens. Some show a rocky outcrop or a riverbank. One shows the back of a head, hair lit by the flash. Others show what might be improvised markers, plastic bags tied to branches, straps placed on rocks. The reason for these photos is unknown, possibly to light the path in the dark, possibly to mark a location, possibly an attempt to signal rescuers. On June 14th, 10 weeks after they vanished, a local woman from an indigenous village near Alto Romero finds a backpack on a riverbank along the Culebra. The pack contains their passports, both phones, a camera, sunglasses, cash, and some small personal items. The contents are dry and in good condition, unusual given the months of rain. This leads to speculation. Could it have been placed there deliberately? Could it have been lodged under debris and only recently freed by water? No conclusive answer emerges. In the following weeks, searchers find partial human remains along the riverbanks downstream from where the pack was found. These include a boot containing a foot bone and some skin, a section of pelvis, and several other small bones. Some bones are weathered and sun-bleached. Others retain tissue. Forensic examination does not find marks from tools or animals. The condition differences could be due to environmental exposure. Some remain spending more time submerged, others on the surface. The official investigation concludes that the most likely explanation is an accident. They may have gone beyond the Mirador, descended into difficult terrain, and become trapped or injured, unable to return. In the official view, exposure, injury, and the inability to summon help led to their deaths. This explanation fits with the phone logs, the photographs, and the geography. But it does not answer every question, particularly about the intact backpack and the variation in bone condition. Speculation flourishes online. Some propose that they encountered someone in the forest and met with harm. Others suggest they became lost and disoriented, perhaps separated, and one was injured. Some focus on the nighttime photographs, interpreting them as evidence of an attempted signal or of a third party. Investigators respond that there is no direct evidence of another person's involvement. The devices contain no images of strangers, no messages or notes indicating human threat, no recovered witness reports of contact. In late 2024, an updated edition of a detailed investigative book on the case is released. This new edition includes refined maps of the trail and surrounding terrain, more accurate reconstructions of the phone call and photo timelines, and corrections to early misconceptions, such as incorrect reports about clothing being folded and left neatly on a rock, which photographs later disproved. The updated edition emphasizes measured interpretation and warns against drawing firm conclusions from incomplete data. It also adds interviews with local guides who explain how easy it is to become disoriented beyond the Mirador, how ravines can loop back on themselves, and how cloud forest weather can change in minutes. Then, in March 2025, an article is published marking the case's 10-year point. It reiterates what the evidence shows. Despite speculation, there is no proof of a violent act. The remains and the camera sequence, the phone logs, and the terrain all point more convincingly toward an accident or exposure scenario. The article notes that while questions remain about the backpack's location, about the sequence of nighttime photos, no new evidence has emerged to suggest a different conclusion. It acknowledges the enduring public fascination, but stresses that many gaps in the timeline are the natural result of events in a remote, rugged environment with limited search access. These updates help frame the story a decade on. They reinforce that the case, while rich in details from recovered devices, still holds unanswered questions. They also underline how human imagination fills in those gaps, creating theories that range from the plausible to the implausible. The official position has not changed. Two young travelers entered terrain more dangerous than it appeared, became unable to return, and were overtaken by the elements. The memory of their trip remains in Boquete. Locals remember the search helicopters, the foreign investigators, the photographs posted around town. The El Pianista trail is still there. Signs warn hikers not to proceed beyond the Mirador without a guide. The Pacific slope still offers its green tunnel and sweeping views. The Caribbean slope beyond remains wild and little traveled. For the families, each year brings back the weight of early April 2014. They live with the known facts and the empty spaces between them. They remember the last photographs, the last phone signals, the hopes the two carried into the mountains that day. The case stands as both a story of loss and a caution about the power of remote landscapes, where beauty and danger coexist, and where a single step beyond the familiar can change everything. Thank you for watching Fatal Secrets of True Crime. Subscribe for more stories like this. Real crimes, hidden truths, and the secrets they tried to bury. Your support helps keep these stories alive and the pressure on for answers. Till next time, remember, every secret eventually comes to light.